Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much. I hope you're having a great day. We're going to take a quick look at SUI, of course, see what's going on. We've been holding this range of 380 pretty well. Saw that candle wick down to almost that exact level. So it's looking nice here as far as the initial consideration for the price to pivot and bounce off that. Keep in mind if the price does continue any lower, this 0.678 fib level right around 355 is a very solid consideration for entry if we do see that. So that's kind of where we're at there. Another thing to recognize too, and this is just not trying to give you any fear mongering here, but we do have a pretty significant head and shoulders potential here. So if we do end up working our way down, we could very well see a continuation lower. That all depends on Bitcoin though, and it's just a very brief observation. Don't attach yourself to that concept there. So we're going to take a look at the back end liquidation data, see where we're at here, kind of go from there, and then just kind of double check a few important factors too. So when it comes to SUI, this coin has a lot of liquidation in both directions, and we always want to be mindful of that because it's a very heavily traded coin. So the concept here is that we can see 430 to 440 is that upper liquidation range, and then 380 to 360 below. So there's a lot of people taking longs at that 380 to 360 range or just have liquidation events in that area. So it gives us some sense and security, but it also lets us know that whales may be targeting that. However, from a macro perspective, this is usually more valid. We have a lot more liquidation above the price than below the price. So at this point, with us having our long position open, I would recommend maybe just consider leaving it open. We took some profits from a Bitcoin short, XRP long, but we do have a good SUI long position open from, I think it was Saturday. So I think still in good shape there to hit second or third targets. But once more, folks, at this level, you never truly know. It really depends on how Bitcoin's going to behave. If Bitcoin runs and breaks towards, breaks its 104K range, I think there's a solid chance alts are going to run here soon. But alts are also kind of looking weak today, so there's not like it's a difficult transition that we're in right now. I don't generally like to trade these kind of transitions. Either way you look at it here, let's look at the important stuff here without emotion and kind of see what's going on. We can see a solid support here on the daily closure at about 395. So 395 is looking like a pretty solid support for us here. You could even argue this is like a rising, broadening wedge pattern too. There's a lot of different things you could think of, but I don't want you to attach yourselves to like patterns because patterns need to run concurrent with the overall momentum and the market itself. So if you are considering, looking at that, just recognize that there's some other things we want to look at too. First of all, we're right there at 70 on the RSI. This is usually a good sweet spot there, but it does imply that if you have, you have a long position open, you may want to consider securing profits as like a safety net, just because we're right there at that 70 level, and that's commonly referred to as a resistance. I'm not super concerned about that. We can see stochastic swinging down and MACD diverging too, though. So if we don't, break out here soon, we may actually end up pulling back. But once more, the 4-hour time frame really tells us the most here. We're above all moving averages. Our local point of control here in this range, by the way, is 345. And that's an important thing to recognize because we're building a lot of volume below the price. We also have MACD converging, stochastic swinging up, RSI right there at 50, bouncing off that key level support. I think there's a lot of reasons why we're going to go higher. The only caveat here is if Bitcoin does pull back, we saw here, what happened when Bitcoin went from 104 to 100,000. We saw about a 2 to 3% correction from Bitcoin, but an 11% correction from SUI. So I do think we are due to correct down lower and harder if Bitcoin were to pull back. But the longer we maintain this range for Bitcoin, the more likely we are to see altcoins surge and continue upwards. So I really like the position that alts are in right now. And I think at this point, those who got in at the low 380 range, congrats on that. I would consider holding your position open and just adjusting your stop losses higher. It does look like Bitcoin volume is increasing and we're starting to see that continuation potential. And if that happens, I think SUI is going to run towards its 450 little resistance range here for that macro liquidation. So what are your thoughts? Why don't you comment below, let me know. I'm always interested in hearing what you're thinking about doing with this coin because there's so many, it's such a diverse, we have a lot of diverse traders trading this coin. Some like to hodl, some like to high leverage, some are more conservative. I'm a little more conservative myself. I only ever 5x leverage this coin, but I have tremendous more success taking longs than I do shorts in this coin. So don't recommend shorting at all. Either way, thanks so much again for your time. Look forward to seeing the next one. Join us over at Bitunix too, folks. There's one more day left for this promotion here. And then obviously Twitter, Telegram, and Discord. It's nice to have you along there as well. Jump on over there and get to know our community better. All right, folks. Thanks again. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.